All right, tonight we're discussing what it's like to work for Uber. Uber crashed on the scene apparently around 2008 in the US to compete with taxis and other transportation. But now it's a multi-billion-dollar international business with employees around the world. Tonight we have Tony, who works during the day, but also he Ubers in his spare time after work, and he'll give us a part-time Uber driver's view of the business. Welcome, Tony.
Yeah, hello, T-Mac. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, no
And
worries.
I'll start off with, how long have you been driving for Uber?
Yeah, T-Mac, I've been driving for like a year and a half. I don't drive full time. I have no intention of driving full time, unless I lose my day job. Then I can drive full time straight away. But yeah, just for now, I'm just driving a few hours a week. Basically, I drive mainly from work. So I got a job where I started 6:30 in the morning. So and I finish around 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, depending on the overtime that I do. And then yeah, look, it takes me about an hour to drive home, and I do drive through like glitzy areas. I don't know anyone who's familiar with Melbourne. I drive through Port Melbourne and St Kilda, which are nice areas to drive through. There's a lot of people going out, tourists and that. So yeah, they're good. They are good areas to drive through and pick up customers. And so what I basically do, I pick up customers on the way home from work, and I can do that because Uber has a feature for the drivers where we can type in the destination that we want to drive to, and we only drive to and pick up customers in that direction. So I could start my journey, let's say in the city, and I might type in Frankston as my destination, and I will pick up customers only going home in that direction. So yeah, that's one feature that enables me to drive from work to home. It means that I don't end up on the other side of the city going home. And sometimes it means that I will drive home and get no pickups. That's fair enough, because my intention is to get home on time. If my wife wants me home at 4 o'clock, I can be home around that time. Yeah.
So what made you start driving for Uber?
A few reasons. One reason was that I did a course in bookkeeping and accounting, and I did a certificate for in accounting and bookkeeping. And after I finished the course, I realized that that course was just going to go to waste, because it's not what I do for my day job. And then I realized that if I was to become an Uber driver, Uber drivers need to keep up to date their bookkeeping for tax reasons, stuff like that. So as an Uber driver, you have to have your own what do you call it, ABN, and you have to basically keep your bookkeeping up to date. So I have a Xero account, bookkeeping software, and as I drive along Ubering, I then have to every day, just update my bookkeeping. That way, I keep my bookkeeping skills up to date, which is good. So if I ever want to open up a business of my own, I'll already have that experience through Ubering. Yeah, and the other reason was just to have a side hustle on the side. It brings in some extra cash. Yeah, there is a cost. It's not that much. Look, maybe a couple of $100, maybe 200, 100. Look, for me, when I started Ubering a year and a half ago, so things may be a bit different today. But look, for me, there were two main costs. You need to obtain a license, which is from the taxi industry. Some kind of you have to basically get a license to enable you to drive as a taxi driver, but you don't drive as a taxi driver, you drive for Uber. But so you need a license from the taxi industry.
How much does that cost?
Roughly $40, $50. It's just an online form you've got to fill out. You've got to pay the money. And after a few days, they'll send you the license with your name on it. And then the other cost involved is that the car you drive has to be registered as a taxi kind of driver car, whatever. That's another taxi industry thing. So yeah, your car has to be registered as a car that carries passengers. And again, it's just an online form you fill out. And again, it's maybe $50, $50. You know, it wouldn't be more than $100. So yeah, you need to get those 2 licenses. You don't need to get a police check. I'm not sure if that costs. I'm not sure if that costs money, but you know, even if it does cost some money, it's only a couple, $20, $30, whatever.
Does it have an age limit with the car?
Yes, it does. Your car cannot be. Okay, at the time that I started driving Uber, the rule was that your car cannot be more than 10 years old. And trust me, Uber keeps the track on that. Once your car reaches more than 10 years, it's cut off from the system. You cannot drive it. So your car needs to be less than 10 years old. However, now there's new rules coming in. And it's not, your car still probably needs to be less than 10 years old, but also your car has to pass, it's some kind of like a safety 5-star rating. And if your car doesn't fall under that 5-star safety rating, then you can't drive that car either, even if it's less than 10 years old. Yep.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, then you also need to get a medical certificate. So if you go to your own GP, you might have to pay money for that, for your doctor to fill it out. Medical certificate that says that you are fit enough to be able to drive a taxi car or a car. Yeah. I don't want someone basically who's not well enough and they might fall asleep at the wheel or something like that.
Right.
Yep. And so that can cost you some money as well. And then your car has to pass your car has to go through like a mechanical review. So at the time when I did it the first time, it was for free. The second time I did it, I had to pay like maybe $40. So Uber will, you'll take your car to like an Uber mechanic, and that mechanic will basically look, under your car, through your car, and if they find any faults, then you will need to fix them before you can drive for Uber. So, for example, when I did it the first time, I drive my wife's car, and I can do that because my name is listed on the car insurance. And when I took the car in to get checked, it failed the check. Cost me like $1,000 to get the car repaired. But that's what I had to do to be able to drive for Uber. Yeah. So if there's any mechanical issues with your car, you got to get them fixed. And Uber's pretty strict on that. And they do check the cars thoroughly. So I didn't even know there was anything wrong with the car until the Uber mechanics had to look at it, and it cost me like $1,000 to get fixed.
So what's the money like when you work for Uber? Like, you're doing it part-time. And so like, can you maybe give us a brief understanding of what you might make on a weekday after work, or a night, or even a weekend?
Okay. So basically, driving from work to home, I can make anything from $0 to, let's say, $50 driving home. So let's say from Monday to Thursday, it's not that busy. So I'll be lucky to get 1 or 2 trips on the way home. So I might make the minimum you make on a trip is about $5.05. So if a customer wants to go 50 meters down the road, you'll make $5.05, something like that. The greater the distance, the more you make. So, and also Uber pretty much charges on the distance, not the time traveled. So if you're stuck in traffic for half an hour, the customer doesn't pay any extra. It will still be judged on distance. So that's one good feature for the riders out there. You don't have to pay any money for being stuck in traffic. But yeah, look, if I get 1 or 2 lifts home on the way home, I might get like $15, $20 in the one day. And then from Friday till Sunday, it starts to get very busy. It's from Friday afternoon till Sunday evening, it's flat out. You will be getting jobs after jobs without pretty much doing any waiting. You know, before you drop off a customer, you'll have another job in the queue. So sometimes I'm driving home on a Friday, I can make $50, $60 because it's just crazy. It's just one job after another, and sometimes I end up going backwards and forwards. And my wife will say, "Where have you been? How come you're home so late?" And I'll say, "Honey, you know, it's like I was just Uber driving, and I ended up in, I don't know, you know, I went through the city twice, backwards and forwards." Yeah. So yeah, and then on the weekend, you know, like weekends are just flat out. So if you get a spare hour on the weekend, you know, you can easily make $40, $50 an hour driving for Uber.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've never done it full time, but I've heard stories that on the weekends you can make, you know, from $400 to $600 in a 12-hour period. I've never tried it myself, so that's just hearsay from other Uber drivers. But yeah, you can make some decent money on the weekends. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're working part time for Uber or even just casually, whatever, are there any tax benefits, or does it go onto your does it get regarded as further income and therefore gets taxed pretty heavily?
Yeah.
How does that
So
work?
when you drive Uber, so when you drive for Uber, it's like having your own business, and it's income that you got to declare. And you have to pay. It's a business where you have to pay your GST as well. So every 3 months you have to pay your GST as well. That's one bonus having your own bookkeeping software is that when it comes, you know, to reporting every 3 months, you just press a few buttons and, you know, spits out the report how much, you know, GST you got to pay. So you have to declare your income. So let's say you've got a daytime job where you make, I don't know, 60 grand a year. Then you have to add on what you make through Ubering as well. But there's heaps of tax benefits driving for Uber. You get to basically claim any car expenses, and it's actually quite beneficial. So when you drive for Uber, there are two accounting methods you can use to make claims on your car. So if you're a person if you plan basically not to drive too much, you can use an accounting method which is called the 5,000 kilometer rule. So basically, if you reckon you'll drive less than 5,000 kilometers a year, you can use this accounting method, and what it means that for every kilometer you drive, you claim 68 cents as an expense, which is pretty good. So, you know, as long as you drive under 5,000 kilometers, you can claim up to $3,400 a year as expenses. So you'll basically be claiming. So every kilometer you drive, you claim 68 cents, and that's pretty good. But once you go over the 5,000 kilometer mark, you can't claim anything else. So you have to be careful. If you think you're going to drive under 5,000 k's, you can use this accounting method, and you'll claim up to 68 cents per kilometer, which is very good. But for most of the Uber drivers out there, they'll be driving more than 5,000 kilometers a year, and so what you do for that is you use what's called the logbook method, and it's pretty good. You have to keep a logbook for a 12-week consecutive period, and you just basically note down, the kilometers you travel using the car for private purposes, and you note down the kilometers traveled for when you're Ubering. And then you just work out the percentage of Ubering as opposed to private use. So I did the logbook method, and I kept my logbook up to date for a 12-week period. And then I worked it all out, and I found out that I Ubered 57% of the time when I drove the car. So now, like any expense I have on my vehicle, I claim 57%. So, if I fill up the car with petrol and I pay $100, I claim $57 as an expense. If I have to pay car rego, car insurance, or I have to take my car to the mechanics, whatever the cost is, I claim 57%, and I deduct that from my wage, from my income, basically. And that
Okay.
once you set up the logbook method, that logbook method, you can use it for up to I think it's valid for 5 years basically. So for the next 5 years, I'll just be claiming, as long as I Uber still, I'll just claim 57% of any car expenses. So yeah, it's quite good in that sense. You do get to make quite a fair few expense claims, and really, I mean, I haven't filled out my I haven't done my tax this year yet, but I've got a feeling that yeah, I'll be able to claim back quite a fair bit of money, and whatever income I make from Uber, it's pretty much a lot of it I can claim back as an expense. So I might have made, for example, $6,000 this year driving Uber. Then I may make maybe over $4,000 in expense claims. So pretty much what I make from Uber, it's almost tax free because of the amount that I can claim back through my expenses. Yeah, so it's yeah, you don't have to be worried that oh no, I'm gonna have to pay so much tax. No, because driving Uber is a business, and you can claim a fair bit back when you drive for Uber.
I've heard some people say that the wear and tear on the car, like these are people who are probably doing it not so much just on a casual basis, probably consistent after work or something like that, consistently every day. They're saying that the wear and tear caused on the car isn't really worth the money, despite the tax claims.
Yeah. Look, for me, because I mainly drive. Because look, in my situation, because I drive my car from work to home, wear and tear doesn't come into even consideration. Because look, even if I wasn't Uber driving, I would still have to drive from work to home, right? So obviously, when I Uber, I do drive a bit further because I have to sort of go sideways instead of going home in a straight line. But yeah, look, as an Uber driver who drives from work, yeah, wear and tear doesn't come into consideration because, look, even if I wasn't Ubering, I would still have to drive home. So the wear and tear, it's not really, yeah, for me, it's not an issue. If you drive full time, yes, it does become an issue, I guess. Because, yeah, you might have to drive through heavy traffic a lot, stopping and starting all the time. Yeah, but like for me as a part-time Uber driver, yeah, wear and tear doesn't. Yeah, it's not an issue. Doesn't affect me at all.
Oh, good. So regarding the rating system, the driver rating system, can you tell us? Just gives an overview of like how that works.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Look, the driver rating system, whether you love it or you hate it, you just have to accept it. It's a part of life when you're an Uber driver. Yeah, you just embrace it basically. Look, your Uber rating basically as an Uber driver, you get a 5-star rating. Okay, and if your rating starts falling below a certain percentage, Uber can actually or will kick you out. They will not let you drive. So I don't know what the cutoff point is. I don't even know what, it's probably different for every single city. But if your rating starts slipping, yeah, you'll be put on notice and you might actually lose your job as an Uber driver because Uber doesn't want any bad drivers out there. And yeah, the Uber rating, you have to embrace it because that's what determines whether you keep your job or not. Yeah, so like me personally, my rating is pretty good. I'm proud of it. It's like nearly perfect. So I'm very proud of that. But look, every now and then you will get a low rating from a customer, from a rider. You might get a 3 or a 4, or at worst you might get a 1 or a 2. And yeah, it's like I'll have to swear, it sucks. You get as a driver, you get angry. Oh my god, how did I manage to get such a low rating from this customer? And you get frustrated, you get really angry. But then like after a while, when you settle down, you look back and you go, you start asking yourself questions like, okay, so what did I do wrong here? Like, why did I get less than 5 stars? And then you start, once you get over the angry stage, you start thinking positively. So, what could have I? First of all, you do not know who gave you that bad rating. It's anonymous, so you've got no idea who gave you the rating. You could drive someone, and 2 weeks later, that could give you a bad rating. So really, you've got no idea who gave it to you, which is good. But yeah, once you get over the angry stage, you start thinking and you start asking yourself questions. And you do ask yourself the question, like, what could have I done better? What do I need to change? Is it my attitude? Was I not friendly enough? Did my car stink? Was it dirty? Did I drive badly? I mean, sometimes sometimes you do make a mistake and you know why. You might have made a wrong turn, and as a result, your customer got there 10 minutes late. I mean, that happens. It can happen. Yeah. So the rating system, you just have to embrace it, and it's good because at the end of the day, when you do get a bad star rating, you then it makes you think. Well, how do I improve so that it doesn't happen again? And it kind of keeps you on your toes. So you can't, as an Uber driver, you can't afford to slack off or to just relax behind the wheel, because the minute you relax and slack off, you will cop a less than 5-star rating from a customer who thought, you know what, that driver could have done better. So the 5-star rating, overall, I think it's a good thing because it keeps you on your toes. You can't relax, and you have to treat every customer really well in order to obtain or keep obtaining 5-star ratings.
With the rating, like it's out of 5, but do the customers get to write a comment as well saying the car stank or the car was really great, things like that?
There is an option for the customer to write that. Yeah. And I think I've had about I might have had maybe like 7 customers who didn't give me 5 out of 5, but no one has yet made a comment. So, which is unfortunate because I would love to know, like, okay, what did I do wrong? Can you tell me exactly, what I need to improve on? But, maybe the customers want to remain really anonymous. They don't want to know that, they want to remain anonymous. So it's probably, even though I can't tell who gave me that rating, I might know that I'll find out because, So yeah, unfortunately, no one has yet left me a comment, but they can, and yeah, there's an option for the writer to leave you a comment. Yeah.
Okay, and can the rating system be kind of corrupted and misused? Can people just,
look,
there's other schemes out there where customers might have just sort of give low ratings to various businesses. Have you heard of that happening?
No, I don't think. No, not in that sense. No. I don't think anyone can. I don't know of any instances where someone will deliberately give you a low-star rating to stuff you up. No. But having said that, there are people out there, just because of who they are or how they are, that will just give everyone, less than 5 out of 5. But you will end up driving thousands of customers, and hundreds of customers will leave you a rating, and the majority of customers will, rate you properly. So if you do get the oddballs every now and then who will just, for whatever reason, want to give you a 3 or a 4 or a 2 or a 1, overall, the law of averages will smudge out those people who do not want to rate you properly. So if your Uber rating is, let's say, 4.99, if someone decides to stuff you up and give you 1 for no real reason at all, it's not really going to damage you that much. Your rating might fall from 4.99 to 4.98, but in the scheme of things, that one person who's trying to stuff you up for whatever reason, it's not really going to affect you that much. But look, if I mistreat a customer, then obviously, it's not going to look good for me. Look, first of all, the customer will give me a bad 5-star rating. They might give me a 1 or a 2, which will hurt my rating, will hurt me, and that can always report me to Uber. That's a good thing because there's transparency. As an Uber driver, I cannot remain anonymous or invisible. Uber knows exactly who gets into my car, and they know who I am. If the passenger has any issue with me and they report it to Uber, Uber will know exactly who was driving that car. So, yeah, I would be really, it would be really stupid of me to mistreat someone because, yeah, they'll get back to me straight away. And I've had a few instances where someone's left a wallet or something in my car, and like 2 minutes later, they start ringing my phone because they'll ring Uber. Hey, listen, I left my wallet in the car, or whatever, and Uber knows. Oh yeah, you were in Tony's car. We'll just give him a call now. So yeah, I cannot, like I cannot remain invisible. I just cannot mistreat anyone. If I do, I'll pay the price for it straight away. Yeah.
What's the average age of your customers?
Ooh, I would say mainly young, middle aged. People who love using their mobile phones. You don't get that, but you do get like an older age group as well. And funny enough, it's the older people who actually rave about Uber the most. So the older generation, like people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, who actually do use Uber, they rave about it and they love it because it's given them like a more mobility. So these people in the old days used to catch taxis, to get around. Like, let's say these people were too old to walk, 5Ks down to the shops, and I needed a taxi. Sometimes I would have to wait hours for a taxi, before the taxi decided to turn up. Now these people just, they use their phone, they order an Uber, and they know exactly when the Uber is going to turn up. And they love Uber. Like a few old people have told me, like, Uber's like it's just changed their life for the better. Yeah.
So on that point, so with Uber going well and growing, what about the taxi industry? Like, do you think it'll be overtaken by Uber, or will it be a coexistence?
Oh yeah, look, yeah, it's a good point. I don't know. I think the taxi industry will exist as long as they can remain competitive. They have to offer something that Uber cannot offer. I mean, there are still taxis around. There's a lot of taxis around. So obviously, they're still in use. So people are using taxis, which is good for them. But definitely, Uber is, from what I can see, Uber is cheaper and more reliable, and more transparent. But the taxi industry, I don't know, like, I mean, they'll have to think of new ways, be creative, offer something that Uber can't offer. Otherwise,
What these days, why do you think? Why would people choose if you've got two options there? Why would you choose a taxi over Uber?
I don't have it. I don't really know. I don't know why you would choose a taxi, to be honest.
Because their point of view saying that like Uber doesn't charge on time, it charges on distance. Like that's a massive factor. I've been in taxis where it's just clocking over because you're at the lights or whatever, and it's like a traffic jam and so forth. Whereas I don't know how. I don't know how taxis are really existing. They must be offering another. Maybe it's for another podcast, but that's really I'm not seeing a future for taxis at all.
Or they might. I think, like, for example, I'm pretty sure that like people with disabilities, or people in like who get looked after by the government, they might get like subsidies to use taxis to get around. So taxis are still useful in that sort of way. But other than that, like, I don't know, man. The taxi industry, they have to come up with something to remain competitive. Like, I just can't. Yeah, the future for them doesn't look too good, unfortunately. Yeah.
Just with the taxi, their licenses are very well. At last check, they were very expensive. It's like a couple $100,000 or thereabouts. How come Uber? That's pretty unfair that Uber doesn't have the equivalent. Like that's quite
I'm
unfair
surprised.
to taxis.
No, that's a good point. But like before Uber came along, the taxi industry, it was regulated by the government basically. Like the government set the rules, and it's a state government thing. So every 3 years, like here in Victoria, we have a new government, and almost every time a new government was appointed, there were changes made to to the taxi industry, to the licensing and all that. Like, you know, it's an industry that was regulated by the government. You know, the government set the rules. This is how much a license is going to cost. Or not maybe so much how much a license is going to cost, but how many licenses we're going to give out this year. Like, when did the state government actually take, you know, the riders into consideration? You know, like, I don't know, like, it was just heavily regulated by the government. And look, you know, if you bought a taxi license in the older days, you might have been making 10% return on your investment, which was good. You know, and so why wouldn't you buy 20 licenses, spend a few million to make 10% on 2 million? Now, it was a good investment when you think of it like that. But at the same time, you know, it was heavily regulated by the government. The government was making new rules every single year. So if you bought into those taxi licenses, I mean, surely, like, if you were making 10%, you know, for 5 years in a row, like, why would you expect to keep on making, you know, that profit year after year, especially when, you know, it was just, you know, the rules and regulations were changing all the time.
It sounds like you would recommend working for Uber in a part-time fashion, maybe not so much full-time, but part-time. It sounds like it's something that you would recommend to others to do if they're looking to pick up a side hustle to make some cash. Not cash,
Yeah,
but make some money on the side.
Yeah, like part-time, I recommend it definitely. Like, you know, driving from work to home, it makes sense. You're going to have to drive home anyway, so you might as well make money driving home. And, you know, it's good in terms of flexibility.
As long as your drive home as long as your drive home is around about an hour, it's probably worth doing it.
Yeah, it is, because you're going to have to drive home anyway, so you might as well do it. You can basically Uber drive whenever you want. Like, sometimes on the weekend, if I've got a spare 2 hours, I'll Uber drive in those spare 2 hours. Because I only Uber drive because I enjoy it. Like, for me, it's not really work. It's just an enjoyable experience. It's just, it's like a hobby for me, actually. You don't know who you're going to get, and, you know, you meet new different people.
There's a lot of good information there for people that are considering driving for Uber. There's a lot of differing opinions out there about whether it's a good thing or not, but sounds like in a part-time fashion, like you're doing on your way home from work, it sounds like it's quite good. So thanks, Tony, for giving us an insider's view of a part-time Uber driver. Appreciate your time.
Great. T-Mac, thanks a lot, mate. See you later. Bye.
Thanks.